Let's get right into it. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally shift how you look at AI infrastructure bottlenecks. We are diving into Chapter 6 of the incredible 12-part tutorial, The Modern Data Center, Networking in the AI Age. This comes to us straight from the brilliant minds at Virtualization Options LLC, a really fantastic technology research and advisory group based out of Colorado. We are officially entering what they call the power-bound era. And honestly, the sheer scale of what we're about to cover is absolutely mind-blowing. So for the past decade, if you looked at how data center scaling actually worked, it was entirely bound by one thing: how many CPUs and GPUs we could physically cram into a given rack footprint. The limits were all about compute density and thermal management, right? But today, the game has completely changed. Our binding constraint for AI infrastructure is no longer just physical space. Instead, it's strictly bound by power availability. We are literally limited by the raw megawatts that the utility grid can deliver to the facility. To really wrap your head around this massive paradigm shift, just consider this one staggering number. A single rack of modern NVIDIA GB200 systems, specifically the NVL72, draws over 130 kilowatts of electrical power. Just one rack. That power density is so extreme that liquid cooling isn't just a nice-to-have anymore, it's absolutely mandatory from day one. You can't just point a massive fan at this thing and cross your fingers. Now let's take that 130 kilowatts and scale it up. Imagine you're building a large AI factory with 100,000 GPUs. When you factor in the IT load, plus all the facility overhead for cooling, power conversion, and distribution losses, you're looking at roughly 200 to 400 megawatts of power. To put that into perspective for a second, 400 megawatts is literally the output of a small power generating station. That's the energy footprint required for just one massive AI cluster. And this perfectly illustrates the urgency of the problem we're facing. You can't just order a power plant on Amazon with next-day delivery. The electrical grid infrastructure required to deliver hundreds of megawatts doesn't just magically appear. Medium-voltage switchgear and transformers, those have lead times of 12 to 24 months. Utility-grade substations take 18 to 36 months to design, permit, and build. And if you happen to need high-voltage transmission line upgrades, well, you're looking at 3 to 7 years. So if you want a cluster operational in 2027, the infrastructure must be planned and under construction right now. So what exactly happens when you hit a wall? A typical modern hyperscale campus hits its absolute power delivery limit at around 50 to 100 megawatts. If your cluster requires 200 megawatts, you simply cannot power it in one place. Engineers are being forced to completely rethink how they deploy these massive AI clusters when the grid basically just says, no more. Which brings us to the multi-campus reality. When a single facility can't power your entire cluster, you literally have no choice but to split the workload across multiple campuses. You've got to physically distribute the GPUs while somehow keeping them operating as one giant, cohesive brain to train these massive models. And here is the crucial point. This geographic distribution forces a massive networking challenge. Distributing these workloads requires what we call scale-across connectivity. You need coherent optical networking between these campuses, with enough bandwidth and low enough latency to support, at the very least, data-parallel gradient synchronization. You can't design a network independently in a silo anymore. Your intercampus optical links are dictated directly by your distributed power constraints. Network and power are now permanently tethered together. All right, moving into the physics of the power spine, from grid to GPU. You see, power doesn't just flow straight from a power line into a computer chip. It undergoes at least 7 conversion stages before it does any useful math for us. It steps down from massive 115 kilovolt transmission lines at the utility level, down to 13.8 kilovolts at the campus substation, then to 480 volts at the building's power distribution units, or PDUs. Then it hits the server racks, converting to 48-volt DC, before finally stepping all the way down to sub-volt levels right at the GPU die. But here's the catch with all that stepping down. Every single time you convert that power, you lose a little bit of it. And these efficiency losses compound multiplicatively. Every single conversion stage sheds power as waste heat. At the scale of an AI factory, those tiny percentage losses compound into a massive physical and financial penalty. Let's break down how that impacts the bottom line. A legacy AC power distribution architecture achieves about an 82% end-to-end efficiency. That means 18% of all the power you purchase is totally wasted as heat before it ever reaches your compute. However, by upgrading to a modern 800-volt DC distribution system, you reduce the number of conversion stages, and your end-to-end efficiency jumps up to 87% or higher. Now, the sheer scale of that math is what's so incredible here. A 5% efficiency improvement might not sound like much for a home computer, but in a 400-megawatt factory, that 5% gain saves you 20 megawatts of generation capacity. That is enough power to run a small city, and it saves tens of millions of dollars in annual electrical costs. It easily justifies the premium price tag of that modern DC distribution equipment. Which brings us directly to the IT professional's new reality. You can't just be a traditional network engineer anymore. Your physical network design has to explicitly account for this power delivery topology. We can no longer treat power like an unlimited resource that just magically flows out of the wall. For example, think about your spine switches. These are the critical components carrying that latency-sensitive, all-reduce collective traffic. Standard practice says you have to place them strategically to minimize your copper cable run lengths and reduce optical module counts to save power and latency. But in this power-bound era, you have to additionally coordinate their placement with specific PDU circuits and UPS modules. You are strictly budgeting their power draw right alongside those hungry 130-kilowatt GPU racks. Because if you don't coordinate, you're facing catastrophic risks. You absolutely must work closely with facility engineers to ensure a single PDU failure doesn't take out an unacceptable fraction of your entire spine capacity. If you put all your critical switches on the exact same power failure domain, one blown circuit could stall your entire multi-million-dollar training job. As the Virtualization Options LLC tutorial perfectly sums it up, the network capacity plan and the power capacity plan are therefore coupled. One cannot be designed independently of the other. The era of the isolated network engineer sitting in a silo is completely over. Understanding power physics, electrical grids, and conversion efficiencies, that's now an absolute prerequisite for building reliable, modern AI infrastructure. So I'm going to leave you with this to consider for your own operations. As we dive deeper and deeper into this power-bound era, is your network plan truly, strictly coupled with your facility's power reality? Or are you still designing for an era that just doesn't exist anymore? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.